And now, in the World Service of Radio Moscow, another edition of the Christian Message from Moscow, presented by me, Boris Novikov. What you hear is the all-male choir of the Kievo-Pechery Lavra. It is singing a hymn of the Russian Orthodox Church. You'll learn more about this choir in a few minutes from now.
Слава буде, нехай всі живуть у згоді, злі і добрі люди.
A church hymn was presented by the choir of the Kievo-Pechery Lavra. Now a few words about the monastery. The Kievo-Pechery Lavra was founded on the steep bank of the Driepr River in the middle of the 11th century. The city of Kiev was then the seat of Russian princes. It was one of the first in the old Rus. Many of its monks were proclaimed saints, and people still ask them for help.
Темна річка, ангели ступили, і пастушки при годовці, звісно пробудили, і пастушки при годовці, звісно пробудили. Ой, не спали пастироньки, скоро поспішали, на рожденому Ісусу, свій поклін віддати, на рожденому Ісусу, свій поклін віддати. Каже, то не в мене родиться дитина, треба в книзі прочитати, про Божого Сина, треба в книзі прочитати, про Божого Сина. Посилали по письменних води, прочитали, на Віфлеєм, на містечко, вони указали на Віфлеєм. На містечко вони указали.
The monastery was destroyed more than once by foreign invaders and by communists in the first years of Soviet rule. The last to destroy it and to rob it of its treasures were the Nazi invaders. But the grace of God has always rested on this place, and the monastery has till this day been living a saintly life of its own. Although located on the territory of Ukraine, the monastery continues to belong to the Moscow Patriarchy and refuses to break with Moscow. I have more to tell you about the history of this monastery, but wait till after we hear a hymn of resurrection presented by the monastery choir. The hymn was recorded in Moscow.
Христос Бог нас приведет, победною поющий.
The hymn of resurrection is usually sung on Easter, and I suggest that we hear one more Easter hymn of the same record. Moscow is well familiar with the all-male choir of the Kievo-Pechery Monastery, which joined international festivals of church music held every year in Moscow. It is led by composer Dmitri Bogarski. Nadezhda Pronina of the Voice of Russia has met with him, and here is what he told her.
Я регент хора Киевской духовной академии семинарии, преподаватель семинарии академии Дмитрий Болгарский. Это студенты, учащиеся семинарии академии.
Dmitri Bogarski teaches at the Church Seminary and Academy of Kiev, quartered in the Monastery, and that his choir brings together seminary and academy students. The first center of higher learning of Russia, the Kievo-Mogilyanskaya Academy, opened, Bogarski says, in the 17th century in the Kievo-Pechery Lavra. It was a very solidly oriented school whose full course of learning took up to 12 years, and it was, in the 17th and 18th centuries, the biggest educational and cultural center which either brought up or gave roof to many celebrated men of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia.
Возлияние руку
Dmitri Bogarski, who leads the choir you just heard, has more to say.
Богатейшее певческое наследие Киево-Печерской Лавры. Это основной, корпус наших песнопедий.
The church hymns presented by the choir make the best treasure of the Kievo-Pechery Lavra. Church services are held to monastery tunes based on folk songs and the national musical tradition. The Ukrainian musical tradition experienced in the 17th and 18th centuries a strong influence of Western culture, in particular Polish polyphonic singing. And Russia preferred euphony. The monastery of Kiev adopted the idea of polyphony, but rejected the complicated, conflict-torn and multifaceted mentality of the Western musical tradition. It belonged body and soul to the Russian Orthodox Church. The first monks dug caves to live in the sands of the Driepr River bank, and the first, the Assumption Church of that monastery, opened in a cave. Anthony and Feodosi were the two first fathers superior of the monastery. Anthony became a monk on the Athos Mount of Greece. He modeled the Kiev monastery after Athos, and it is to Athos that Dmitri Bogarski dates the Kiev monastery's tradition, including singing.
Певческая традиция Киево-Печерской Лавры ведет от Афона. Устроитель Печерского монастыря, преподобный Антоний, пришел с Афона и принес...
The Greek tradition came to rest quite comfortably on the richest layer of Ukrainian melodies. But let's hear a hymn devoted to the Assumption of Our Lady.
моя семья потомственная, да, священнослужители. Мой прадед, он был профессором Московской духовной академии, который переехал
Dmitri
в
Bogarski was
1907
born
году
into the
в Киев
family of
в
clergymen. His great-grandfather taught at the Church Academy of Moscow, moved in 1907 to Kiev to join the chair of the Moral Theology of the Church Academy and the Seminary of Kiev. He wrote many theological works. Dmitri's grandfather started out as a deacon and witnessed the destruction of church buildings under Soviet rule. He said he got up one day and looked out the window before washing up to admire an old monastery. After he got washed up, he heard, as he was wiping his face on a towel, a powerful explosion. He put down the towel to see dust and smoke, but no monastery. He was shaken and remembered that till his dying day.
Я закончил Киевскую государственную консерваторию по классу хорового дирижирования. Я сейчас преподаю в
Dmitri
Киевской духовной
is a choir
академии
conducting
семинарии,
graduate of the Kiev Conservatory of Music. He's about to finish the corresponding class of the Church Seminary and Academy and leads the monastery choir. He was brought up in a secular tradition, although his parents made sure he has a good system of moral values. Church life remained for him until a certain time a totally untrodden territory, which means that Soviet rule left an imprint even on Dmitri. But a fellow student invited freshman Dmitri Bogarski to sing in a church choir. Dmitri accepted the invitation, sang at a liturgical service, and saw the light. He lost all interest in philosophy to fall head over heels in love with the Orthodox Church, which he felt was just the thing he needed all his life. He belongs with the Church and puts the sign of equality between the Church and life.
Благослови, душе моя,
music took Dmitri Bogarski to God. A student of music, he discovered the unlimited expanses and depth of the spiritual. Music marks time, but Dmitri says it also braves time. It is a sign of eternity. One part of it corresponds to heaven and another to hell. The natural and self-sufficient mindset of Orthodox Christianity has room for harmony.
Я стараюсь развивать тему человеческой музыки, вот той темы, что каждый человек во Вселенной поет свою песню с гармонией и созвучием.
He feels every human being has a song of his own to sing in the universe. Everyone must try to sing his song in tune with the law of eternity, that is, join the universal symphony of the glorification of God. Dmitri finds confirmation to his thoughts in the writings of Saint Gregory of Nyssa, Saint John the Chrysostom, and Basil the Great. Their anthropological understanding of music is widely open to interpretation. What Dmitri does, leads a church choir, gives a vent to his feelings and invites those who enter a church to sing praise to God. What he does gives a meaning to his life. You've got an idea of the singing tradition of the oldest monastery of the Russian Orthodox Church, the Kievo-Pechery Monastery. Situated in the capital of Ukraine, the monastery identifies with Moscow. You've heard some recordings of the old male choir of that monastery and been introduced to the choir leader, Dmitri Bogarski. This brings to an end today's edition of the Christian Message from Moscow, prepared by Nadezhdina Pronina, Vladimir Dyomin, and Tatiana Shvetsova. Your narrator was me, Boris Novikov. We're looking forward to hearing how you like this and other broadcasts of the church feature. There'll be more to talk of next week. May the Lord bless you all.